Lights up on Washington Heights, up at the break of day. I wake up and I got this little punk I gotta chase away. Pop the grate at the crack of dawn, sing while I wipe down the awning. Hey y'all, good morning.
Ice cold piragua, pancha, china, cherry, strawberry, and just for today I got my mate.
Oye, mira, bueno, ¿cómo está?
Como siempre, señor Usnavi.
I am Usnavi, and you probably
This is my jam now.
I don't know
what it is.
It's in the Heights.
Exacerbated by
the soundtrack.
Syntax is highly complicated because I immigrated from the single greatest little place.
Oh, watch it now.
Dominican
The movie just came out yesterday, and it's so good.
It's on the list.
Here we go. Ready? Here we go.
Damn, I gotta get on, man. Oh, the milk is gone bad.
You got to watch the movie on HBO Max. If you're a show tunes nerd like me, you're super excited that In the Heights is on HBO Max right now. Lin-Manuel Miranda's very first musical that was a Tony Award winner for Best Musical. And now the movie's out, and it's so good because it was delayed a year and a half. So I'm so excited that we got to watch it last night. Anyway, thank you for being here on this Friday. It's Command Your Morning. I'm Nick Baldwin. I have my awesome co-host, Jesse.
Hi.
Newquist. How are you? What's up?
I'm so good. As I'm texting you, machine gun texting you last night, I was in the grocery store. And that grocery store trip took me 3.5 hours. I was trying to do this thing that I guess doesn't exist called multitasking.
Yeah. Oh, didn't you read the one thing? That is not a thing that happens.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. Not true.
Yeah. How are you?
There's no such thing as multitasking. I'm fantastic. I'm so good. We've had such a big week on Command Your Morning. Monday we had Jason Abrams. Wednesday we had Chris Stewart, and today we have like a triple threat.
I know.
It's so huge. I'm the odd man out in this one. I'm like, it's going to be a girls' club. I'm just going to sit back and just kind of like let you do your thing. No, I'll ask.
And be intimidated. Yes.
Yeah, I'll be a little bit intimidated. So, how was your week? What anything good happened to you this week?
Oh gosh, so many good things. What I'm realizing is that, first of all, listening to this awesome podcast. So on Dare to Lead with Brene Brown, she had a gentleman, and I'm not going to think of his name on it, but I'll pull it up and I'll mention it later. I'm obsessed with this quote that your leadership story is your life story. And so this guy got laid off, like 40 years ago, and he had his assignment from his layoff coach essentially was to write down his entire life story, every single detail that he can remember. And he wrote 50 pages on it. And he realized hey, I come from a pretty good stock. And so, we always say that at the top, it's lonely and it doesn't. And he says, bullshit, doesn't have to be that way. You have all of these people from your past that are there on stage with you. I'm obsessed with that. It was just listening to it. So I'll pull up the guy's name. On a
side note, I might have to implement a swear jar, Jesse, because you have sworn 3 times this week on all 3 episodes. You said the S word. I can't do it anymore.
I'm sorry. You're right. I won't.
You know what, though? They say really smart people curse a lot.
I'm usually better about it. My filter. I'll work on my filter.
I get in the car yesterday. I got in the car yesterday I was getting food for the family. I get in the car. My wife's in the front seat driving. Well, not driving because she stopped so I could get in the car. And my kids are in the back. My 9-year-old's like, Daddy, 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 Daddy. And my wife's like, no, you don't need to stop. And he goes, Mommy said, F, and he says the word. Mommy says F. And I'm like, you don't need to repeat it. You don't need to say. Anyway, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I am going to implement a tip jar. We don't want to take too much time today because we have 3 awesome guests today, and I don't know how we got to make sure we get a ton of information over the next 45 minutes from these 3 incredible women. So let's bring them on. Here we go. Carissa Acker.
Hi.
Margaux Drake.
Hi.
And Seychelle Van Poole. What's going on, ladies?
Good morning.
Hi, ladies. Hey, Seychelle, you're muted too. Oh, where's my sign?
Am I muted? No.
And yesterday I was
so glad to
wearing
be
my
here.
"You're on mute" shirt. I should have
Good
worn
job.
it today, but I didn't want people to say Nick didn't do his laundry. That's disgusting.
fair. That's completely fair.
It's
We
more of
appreciate
a
you washing your
battle.
clothes, Nick. Thank you for that.
Yes.
So, ladies, can I? I'll ask you. Can I ask you first, Seychelle? Who are you? And also, we're here to talk about a really awesome event. And so, could you kind of introduce that for us a little bit too?
Sure. My name is Seychelle Van Poole. Today, I'm actually not too far away from Nick. I'm coming to you from northern Michigan.
Oh my gosh, that's right. You're in Michigan.
Yeah, we're up in Michigan, but the majority of the year we live in Dallas, Fort Worth. We did the COVID thing and bought a lake house up here last year. So we'll spend the summer up here working and then go back.
I just bought a lake house in Caseville.
Did you? Now I have to look at the Mitten map and figure out where you are.
It's
so
it's near here. It's Huron County.
Okay. I'm still learning my Michigan geography. I'm a Texas native, so give me a little bit of time. I'll get it all worked out. But so we have a real estate team, Van Poole Properties Group in Dallas, and I'm a co-founder with these wonderful ladies with an amazing event called Amplify. We'll talk about today, and I've got a 7-year-old daughter named Quinn, who's awesome, and a COVID puppy, and a husband named Nick.
I hate when COVID happens and you buy puppies.
We did all the things, really. We did the RV, the lake house, the puppy, virtual school,
Yeah, I got a cat. I got a third cat during COVID, and I bought a lake house during COVID.
It's a thing. I'll let Carissa introduce Amplify. So I'll let her jump in, and she can get us kicked
I
off.
was going to let Margaux introduce Amplify. I'll just introduce myself though.
Who are you?
Who am I? I'm Carissa Acker with the Real Estate by Design Group. We have a team out of San Antonio, and our home base is in the DFW Metroplex. What else? I have 2 amazing daughters, of which one is a senior and one is a sophomore.
I can't believe that.
Although they both wrecked their cars, one of them is about to graduate. The other one is made the dean's list.
Oh, congratulations.
So we're really
You have fabulous hair, by the way. And for those of you listening, it's pink. I love it. Carissa,
mermaid.
You and I were on stage together at Mega Camp. Gosh, how many? 6 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
So that was kind of cool.
Yes.
So we go way back.
That is me, and we have a team, and I have a husband. So that's us.
Thank you. And
You're welcome.
I'm at Margaux. I got to talk to you for the first time yesterday. I love you already. Who are you?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Margaux Drake. I am blessed to be the executive director of the $5 Network and Amplify. And I can tell all of you about the event that we have coming up. But just a little background on me. I have a health and wellness business also with Isogenics. I'm in the top 1% of income earners there. And then recently accepted this incredible position. And I'm so excited about it because my mission in life is to help women earn more money. And because I believe that more money in the hands of women will make such a dramatic shift in the world. So it was just such a perfect partnership to be able to join Amplify, join the $5 Network, and continue this mission.
So good. So good. So tell me, what is the Amplify event?
So the Amplify event, it was created by the $5 Network, the 11 women that make up the $5 Network.
Don't worry about it. We're good at math. It's okay. Yeah. We really can do that.
It's a leadership organization that amplifies the lives and voices of women in business all over the world. So we do that through community. We do that through immersive events and continuing membership and the paced repetition of learning and connection and tribe when we're not in the physical presence of everybody. So,
I think what makes this really special and what made our first retreat so special is that, Jesse, you made a great point earlier, which is there's this story out there that leadership is lonely. Right. And I think when you layer on top of it, being in leadership, being an entrepreneur, being a driver, and being a female, there's an even bigger myth that it's not just lonely, it's really lonely. And, we think about, that we have 65% of the real estate population are female, yet only 25% of the company's leadership around the country are female. That's a huge disparity. And we love our men. You guys are fantastic, right? We respect and admire our men. And what we found was that one thing that men do naturally really well that women don't is amplify each other. They create an echo chamber, and you do that through sports. You learn that at a very young age, and you do that through sports. You do that through learning that person had a really great idea, so let's talk about that too. And so men naturally learn at a very young age to amplify each other and to support each other. And in a room, when all of a sudden one person says an idea and then somebody else says, oh, that's a great idea, and somebody else says that's a great idea, and by the fourth person, it's the gospel, right? That is the idea. And what women naturally do is we're nurturers. And so we end up taking a step back in the room. No, it's okay. You can go. No, it's okay. You can step forward. And what we end up doing is squandering our voice a little bit. So what we found we needed to do was start banding together as women and as entrepreneurs to make sure our voice was heard in the room. And number two, to show that it's possible to have a group of women that support each other unconditionally and really can band together to not only build big businesses, but really build really amazing big lives. And that's what we're doing with Amplify.
So good.
Can I just say something real quick? I just want to say something. For me, it's not sports, it's musical theater. But anyway, that's a whole other topic.
Yes, but you have a microphone too. You not only have an echo chamber, Nick, you also get a microphone.
Right. I do want to say that I love what you just said, because I have always found it odd that, even when you go to conferences, a majority of the speakers are male. I don't understand. And so when Lab Coat Agents does an event, like Tristan and I are always like, okay, we have to start with getting females first. Once we get the females, because we always want to do 60% female. Like, we're always very cognizant of that, just because you are a majority of the industry. And real estate, at first I think was mostly all female, and then men started getting into it. But yeah, I've never understood that. And in leadership positions too. I mean, throughout Keller Williams, in market centers, team leaders, OPs, I don't understand. Is it that the females, are they getting held back from the speaking and from the leadership positions, or are they just,
that is
why is it that way?
Well, I believe that some of it is like, we have to learn to raise our hand. We have to learn to use our voices. And so when we don't have that ability, and not that we don't have it, or where we feel like, oh, I shouldn't speak up, or, oh, I'm reading the list of qualifications for this job and I don't match 2. A male may not match 5, and they're still going to apply. But as women, we'll like, okay, oh, well, there's one I'm missing, so I don't. So some of that is just kind of, it's some of the things that we do. So some of it is, and I think a lot of the women that are in this group, but a lot of times, like, hey, just like in medical, I am my own advocate. So, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Like, I need to get out there and raise my hand. And even, I can honestly say, in the very beginning, none of the opportunities that I've received from a speaking or really anything, they have been ones that, like, other people were invited. I'm like, I would like to come. How can I be one of the ones that does this? So I think it's really, and sometimes you've got to surround yourself with other women that give you the courage to be like, okay, I'm just going to ask for what I want.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say real quick that in my household, my wife is the boss. I mean, if I didn't, honestly, I'm not just saying this. If I didn't have my wife, like, none of the bills would get paid. I would foreclose on this property that we live in. Like, honestly, she does so much more than me upstairs than I do down here, like doing my, podcasts and trainings and stuff. And the men like to think that they're the ones that keep things going. And even in the home purchase, it's always the wife that's leading the way and buying that house. And so I just find it interesting that there's not more events like this for all females to get on stage.
Well, I would say about that. Go ahead. Well, here's something I would say. I'd love to hear all of us. So as a woman entrepreneur, we're doing the job that you're doing, plus a lot of times, all those other things that you mentioned. So, we don't typically, and then we do have leverage, but we don't have a wife that allows us to do all these other things. A lot of times, and that's not true in every situation,
Right.
but a lot of times we're doing the heavy lifting at home. Now, not necessarily like I didn't have to, and I did have a lot of help, but there are a lot of women that feel obligated and feel like they need to, and they want to be involved in the PTA, Seychelle, in the, in these things, even though she's running a business.
Yeah.
And, there's just a lot. I know someone else had something to say about this.
Well, I think it's important for people to know why you started it so long ago. So Carissa or Seychelle could talk about the evolution that brought us to the very first event in 2019, because people need to understand what's possible when women get together.
Well, and I think we all, Carissa and myself, there were 5 of us that originally started this group, which is why it was originally the $5. Clearly, we needed to think bigger because there's now 11 of us as founders, even. But we started off with 5 of us just starting to get together, and it was as we looked around the leadership room at the top of Keller Williams, there were very few women that were wives, moms, businesswomen. That was the core thread originally. And it was, we all had kids that we were trying to figure out, how do you, to Chris's point, do all the house stuff, all the wife, mom stuff, all the business stuff, and still have a sense of you at the end of the day. Because we still have to have somewhere that we live. And I think insanity. Well, I'm still working on that one, Chris. Yeah. But we started really having this question of like, is it possible? And people ask all the time, how do you do all the things? Well, the real answer is you don't do all the things, right? You strategically fire yourself, but then we didn't know that. And so what we started getting together for a mastermind retreat. And it was not like the typical women's retreat that you think of where we spa all day and like drink mimosas all day. It was like a working retreat where we were talking about, Carissa made a great post on this last week on Facebook, but we started talking about all the things you don't want to talk about, but you're really curious about, like, how do you do wealth building? How do you keep a relationship with your husband and your spouse, or your spouse or your partner? How do you raise children that you're really going to enjoy down the road? How do you keep a sense of your body and your sanity and yourself? How do you build a business? Like, how do you do it?
Or how do you have children when you're like, I don't know who these people are, and so we've been doing this, and now I don't even know if I like these things. Like, how am I going to survive this? Just all the things that. And it wasn't always the good stuff. A lot of times, most of the time,
it was I'm failing at this hard right now. I'm in hard failure right now on this. And oftentimes, when somebody was in massive failure on it, somebody else was nailing that and failing at something else. And so we started having these really no secrets, nothing held back, complete and utter vulnerability. Brene Brown would be so proud. These retreats, and all of a sudden when we started seeing, oh, wow, okay, for your relationship with itty bitty young kids, you're doing this and keeping your marriage sane. Okay, for wealth building, I'm in the hole big time right now, and you've done this. I'm going to start working towards that and set some really massive goals and move it forward. And I'm going to double my net worth in the next year, right? My body is failing me, and I need to get ahead of that. I'm going to go on a massive health journey. And because of all the advice you guys have given me, I'm going to go take that and take massive action. And so over a 5-year period, you can watch now all 11 of us, and there's massive growth that has occurred during that process. We decided, like, people kept asking us, like, how do we come and do these retreats? And we figured out, like, at 11 of us, it's hard to do that and add to it intimately. So we added the retreat so that we could help form these really amazing curated groups and tribes, if you will, of these like groups that have some similarities and differences to help create relationships around women that want to build a big business and a big life, right? And that's what the retreat is all about, is taking it to a bigger level so we can help impact and amplify more women to show them you can do this. You can do this.
So what kind of sessions can they expect when they go to this event? Like, what are the themes of the sessions or the topics?
How is it organized? So everybody shows up at Amplify. First of all, how many hundreds of people are going to show up at this event? That are you expecting?
So we're
and how do you organize it?
Sold out, which is awesome.
I'm committed. By the way.
Get in there.
Wait, Seychelle, it kind of skipped when you said, it kind of sounded like you said we were sold out.
We're getting close. We're getting close. Yeah. Margot's
So
like,
Margot,
wait a
tell
second.
us the numbers because I know you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we are almost 70% sold out already, months out from the event.
Very nice. Yes, because it's not till September. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And kind of how is it? Well, first, Carissa, you said a word before that that sparked something. You said the word courage, and so
Mhm.
and Seychelle, what you were just talking about, there around wealth building. One of us is in a deep, 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 massive hole right now, and the other one is we're going to help each other get out of that. What that takes is courage. And my research on courage, just yesterday, we was able to get to the point that we can say for sure that courage actually comes from an external source. Like you think about a soldier that goes into war expecting to die for somebody else, and when you ask them why, they would say because he would have done it for me. And so we're going to tackle these massive things. You need to have this tribe that says it's okay. I've got your back. Keep going. You must do this. You can do this. Like that is where big things come from externally. Is the courage.
It's connection. And then I think, for me, one of the big reasons why, Amplify or Her Best Life is my heart is because I was really fortunate to have been invited into this group, and then we added more people, but it doesn't happen that way for everybody.
Right.
And we need that little spark to get us there. And, the most amazing thing about the first event, it was palpable. I mean, it was just like, it was all over the people. It was inside them. It was coming out of their pores, this feeling of just like, it was something special. I mean, I don't even know. How would you describe it, and Margot?
Well, I'll let Seychelle talk because she's got a coaching call.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
I do. I got to bounce in like 60 seconds, but I'll just say, we were crazy enough to throw this event, not because we knew how it all was going to end up, but we knew that we needed to do it and we were called to do it. And it was not, our first venture was not a profitable one. It was a passion. And we did it because we felt called to bring more people along on this journey. And I'll tell you, I have never seen anything so powerful as getting several hundred real, smart, driven, dynamic, open-minded, diverse women together and having open, honest, raw conversation and seeing where that can go. I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. And we have massive amounts of fun, but we have massive amounts of vulnerability and growth. And when you start digging into the topics that really drive your life, and put those on paper and start working towards those, massive things happen. And, like getting into business with Margot. And so, I think that's a perfect segue to her, but it's something I've never experienced before, and I cannot wait for September.
So cool.
It's gonna be awesome.
Me either.
And have a great coaching call.
Thanks, guys. Love y'all.
Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Well, and so I'm so glad that they had a chance to talk about how Amplify evolved, because the way that I was introduced to Amplify is from one of the dolls. And this is really important because this is what people could expect. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that I wanted to be in the room. So it didn't matter what was going to happen there. I just wanted to be in the room with those women because I had watched over social media my friend, who's Diane Griffin, her life change and evolve, and her going on these retreats with these women. I had no idea who these women were, but I wanted to get to know them. And when I showed up in Florida, not knowing anyone or what was going to happen. Diane was running the event, so I didn't have a contact person there. And the only thing I can say when I showed up, and I actually saw Seychelle at the check-in desk with this big smile, welcoming, and I walked into the room and it just felt like home there. And that authentic vulnerability, that transparency. I wanted to share a couple of quotes from other Amplify members. They say a lot. One is from another doll. And when you were talking about courage, this goes right back to why it's so important that we get together and connect. And this is from Via. And I actually just posted it the other day. They drop gems all the time. I can't write enough. And it's my tribe is my outsourced bravery. So Jesse, when you say that your courage
That's it.
external sources, that's it. You just need a group of people around you saying, we're here when you fall, we're here to lift you up, cheer you on. So I love that. That was from Via. And then this quote the other day, I just love, this is from an Amplify member, Lee Boger. And she said, I've always led the group. I've never been in a group of leaders.
Oh, that's so good.
That's really good.
That's awesome. Well,
So
that goes along the lines of what Jesse was saying. It's lonely up there, and so when you're
it feels
around
that way. It feels
when
that
you're
way.
around-
But it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't. When you're around those people, it feels really refreshing. Also, some of the things that Jesse and I talk about pretty often is, when you're up there and it's lonely, it's hard sometimes to just kind of be real and vulnerable, right? Because leaders are supposed to, always be smiling and positive. And if we show any sense of vulnerability or realness about real issues, people think, oh man, what's going on with Jessie? She seems a little bit weak today or sad.
Right,
or whatever.
but yet, you have to be. There's vulnerability is like popular, so you have to have vulnerable moments in front of in front of all the people you're leading. But also, you have to be on all the time. It's like, oh, give me a freaking break.
Well, I mean, I think some of it is like someone who does consider themselves very authentic, real, and almost to a fault. Is that like, to me, never. It was funny. I was talking to one of the people on our team. Like, I never wanted to. I think I just don't know how to live not vulnerable. And when I do, it turns me into a crazy person. But to me, that's what I see in people, because I know that if I get to really be me, and it helps one other person get to really be them, it gets us to the point that it's okay. And I love that, because to me, if all I see is, Margaux and her beautiful photos with her arms looking gorgeous, and I'm like, damn it, who is this woman? I don't like her. Yet
I love her.
Sees that, but when I get to know you, I'm like, oh, good. I just needed to know that you were normal. Like, I just need to know that behind the curtains, sometimes shit is messy. Like, because to me, I feel like my entire life is messy. I'm like, all the mess right here. And I think when you look at people like Nick and Jesse and Margaux and any of the people that have, or I don't want to say main stage people that have been, are seen as, they are seen as like, are elevated, with our group and that I need to see you real. Like, show me your inside parts. Like, show me that, we have something in common. And sometimes from the stage, they're looking at Nick talking and on the show, and they're like, oh, well, he's not normal. You know what I mean? Like, I could never be like that.
I'm definitely not normal, by the way.
Oh, well, I'm not normal. Who really is? Okay, so I just want to go on record saying one other thing. When you're kind of slouched down, it looks like the top of your T-shirt is a crown on Margaux's head. I'm like,
it does, like a Statue of Liberty crown.
I know.
It does.
There.
Well, I want to say something to that because I'm very open about my mental health and the struggles that I go through with depression and anxiety. And I've over the last year, especially through the pandemic, I've been extremely vocal about it. I've actually been pretty mentally sound over the past 18 months, but a lot of people have not. And I think that's because also I thrive when I'm kind of in quiet and I'm able to be inside my own head and focus on what I need to get done. But since I started being extremely vocal about that, I get a lot of messages. Nick, I had no idea. You're always smiling, and it makes me so good to feel like you're going through these things too. And that's why it's so important, to kind of let people know that you go through these things also. You're not always sunshine and rainbows. In fact, I'm the furthest from it,
And life isn't always like, that's one of the other things. Like, life isn't always sunshine and rainbows, and it's okay to say, hey, you know what? Right now sucks. Like, I know it's going to get better, but right now it's just crap. Like, I just need to put that out there, and I'm not going to fake emotion saying it's not crap. It's crap. I am in the crap. I think that's okay.
There's
can I ask Margaux a question?
Yeah.
I want to ask her about her triathlete and her Ironman, ultra marathon, because I'm looking at your website and I'm like, whoa, like I need to go back to the gym. I need to go back to the gym. No, I actually lost 22 pounds over the pandemic, so I'm actually
Yeah, you did a really great job.
But Margaux, talk to us a little bit about that, because that's kind of one of the things that Carissa was saying. You know, if someone didn't know you and they saw you, they'd be like, "Oh my goodness," they might be a little intimidated, right? She's not like me. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the health and fitness and how you run those Ironmans? Because I don't think I could ever.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yes, you can. It's just step by step. You just keep running to the next aid station or the next.
Okay, cool.
However, you start somewhere. And the thing that I love most about all my Ironman and endurance race training is the mental game that it taught me. It will serve me for the rest of my life. And so, how did I get started in that? I'm the youngest in my family. I'm the baby of 6. I grew up with 5 other brothers and sisters.
Wow.
And my dad had a heart episode when I was in high school. And so that was the very first time I had a connection. We were very meat and potatoes kind of family. So I had a connection between cause and effect, what your choices and your consequences. And so that really started everything. And then watching, my family that all had the same genes as me age and what was happening to them, what was going on. And so I just started way back then. And then when I started having kids, I actually started triathlon after my second baby, after Ellie. We have 3 kids. So, I literally did not know how to put on, my hair was longer like Carissa's, and it's really curly. You can't tell now because it's straight, but it is really curly. And so this is how my triathlon training started. I'm not a swimmer. I still say that. I have swam like miles and miles and miles.
You're actually an elite competitive swimmer.
With 4,000 people crawling over your back. And I still say I'm not a swimmer. What kind of story is that? However, this is how I started. I showed up at the pool with my cap and my goggles and like so much hair. And I looked at the woman that was my coach, and I was like, how do you stick these? Like, how am I supposed to get this over this? And then teach me how to get in the water. So that's how it started. Like it just, and then, it all evolved from there. But I love that training because it's so much more mental than it is physical.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And now Carissa and I have a new challenge that we have taken up. So
tell me about that.
What is it?
Carissa?
Oh, well, it is pole dancing, which is, if you have not tried it, incredibly hard. Like you have a whole new respect for anybody. I'm like just trying to like lift my body and I have like 75 bruises on me. I'm like, wow. I mean, it feels really good. It's a lot about muscle engagement. And yesterday she was telling me, she's like, just fall. I'm like, but I'm afraid I'm going to fall. She's like, that's what you're doing. She's like, just make the X and fall and trust. And I'm like, I do not trust my apparatus. I don't trust my body. It's funny to think that would be a mental game, but so much about it, it's like, which is what we need to do in our life. It's like, engage, do this. It's like step 1, step 2, step 3, X, fall, and we're telling ourselves a step, but like, I thought about it a lot. She kept saying, engage. She's like, engage that arm. I'm like, okay, I'm engaged. And she's like, you're not engaged. I'm like, which is like a metaphor from her life. I'm like, I am engaged. And they're like, no, really engage. And I think it's one of those things that it's empowering. It makes your mind feel good. It's good for your body. It does make you look bad in shorts. But that does not
because you're
I should not take that. I should not take up pole dancing.
Well, actually,
great exercise.
In my urban legend, I didn't bother looking into this, but urban legend is that it was started by male gymnasts. It is very athletic. You need
I've heard it's very athletic.
Balance, flexibility, strength, unbelievable strength. You're working against gravity. The whole time you're pulling your body weight, and then you're supposed to breathe, and then you're supposed to look like effortless doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Graceful.
Like, who
So
does that?
I needed a new challenge. I was like, I can't run any further. I can't swim any further.
Yeah.
I could go on forever. Like, give me something I don't know how to do. And it's humbling. It is so humbling.
Well,
Paul Stoltzfus, team leader, my friend of mine, he runs towards things that scare him. So yeah, now he says pole dancing, that'll get me out of my comfort zone for sure. And he looks terrible in shorts. You look terrible in shorts anyhow. Yeah.
I just want to say one thing to Paul. You do you, boo.
You do. So. That's his daughter's.
And
That's
Paul,
his daughter's
you
thing.
look terrible in shorts. It didn't happen unless there's pictures.
But
I think honestly, I've heard great things about pole dancing. My wife actually was thinking about taking a class, so I think it would be. And she was a gymnast too, so I think that she'd be really good at it.
But you don't have to have like the perfect body and total. I mean, like even going, as definitely for me a work in progress with zero upper body strength. It does make you feel strong. And when I left the first time I took lessons, which was, I don't know, 6 months ago or 3 months ago, I really left feeling kind of proud of myself. I'm like,
empowered.
Hey, I was unsure if I was even going to be able to hold any parts of my body weight. And I took a video for my daughter and she's like, Mom, don't ever put that anywhere. You look awful. I'm like,
you know what else I love?
I was like, I am proud of it. Like,
but I did it.
That's more than I thought I could do. And it made me want to come back. Even
Mm-hmm.
though I was
we forgot to talk about the spinning too.
You know what else I think is awesome? What's that exercise with the scarves? They're really strong and they hang from the ceiling.
I want to try that.
Silks.
That is so cool to me, like the Cirque du Soleil stuff.
It's pretty. Oh my gosh, you look at those. So it takes so much. You look at those Cirque du Soleil performers, and they do make it look effortless, and they have to be so strong and so flexible. And I just wanted to have fun doing something. And honestly, I thought, if we're talking about living our best life, it can't all be about work. So what can I do for fun? Like, I lift weights. I do all this other stuff for my health. But what's fun? So, and then literally this pole dancing studio opened up right across the street from me. I can walk there.
You gotta go. You can't not go. So Carissa, we were talking about actually yesterday a focusing question. So a couple days ago when Nick, you and I talked to Chris Stewart, we learned from him that we can actually form, this is new science, we can actually form new brain cells. Like we used to think that we had a finite amount of brain cells and you can't really reform them. No, you can, not just pathways, but brain cells.
Some people that I'm pretty sure they don't form new brain cells ever.
They can, but they can if they do these three things.
Some people don't. But
number one, brisk walks. Number two, being completely 100% vulnerable and open with a trusted friend. And I need more brain cells because I forgot what number three is. But anyhow, Carissa, you said yesterday about your focusing question. What are the things that you are not talking about? Like what if you're in a one-on-one with this trusted close friend and you're ready to get vulnerable, right, to form these new brain cells, which it's on my list.
Yeah.
What are the things that we're not talking about? And so that's kind of how I see, you casted that vision for me yesterday, and that's how I see the Amplify event. Like to make sure that we have the tough people in our lives around us that are asking those questions and not taking the BS answer as an answer.
Well, and I think one of the things that's beautiful about any relationship it doesn't have to be Amplify, but any relationship like that is that, I wrote a post a couple of days ago, and I think because, you don't build friendships thinking, hey, my life's going to turn to crap on a stick 5 years from now, so I better work on this now. That's not why we build relationships. That's not why we form tribes. But what you realize is they are there when things are good. They are there to encourage you. But when things are bad and you may have lost your faith, lost your spirituality, or just you're lost, they are the ones that will be there to text you, to send you notes, and to really just say, hey, look, you don't get to ditch my call anymore. I've texted you 3 times and you haven't returned it. Like, I will come to your house if you do not, give me some kind of sign. And, they just won't take no for an answer. And that doesn't come quickly. That's another thing, like the pole dancing. It requires trust. And to me, I love Amplify. I love hearing about wealth building and how I can better use my time and just all of the things that Amplify entails. And I don't think we have our schedule. So that's probably why we didn't answer that. But I think it always, we cover wealth, we cover, leadership things, and we cover a lot of personal stuff like self-care. And, it's not all, massages and pedicures. Like, what does it really look like? And then mindset, like, what is the mindset? What is the mindset that takes us to get us there? Because we all say we're going to do it, but yet how many people actually do?
It's so it's content, it's connection, and accountability. Are the big thing about Amplify is this idea of accountability and tribe. That's how these women evolved so much over the last 7 years, is that group of accountability.
Yeah. Accountability is so important too. Like, we, as leaders that have plans to do big things, like, let's say we put 99% of the work in place, so we're ready to hit the go button. What I hear from female leaders more than any other group of or segment of leaders is that we do that and then doubt stops us, or a comment that we remembered from 20 years in our past stops us, or there's an implementation and doubt factor that I at the Amplify event, if I found the thing that focused on that would be my room, the implementation and doubt factor. And it sounds like that's mindset.
And well, I think doubt. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Carissa. Go ahead. Well, so many times we just need someone to go first. We need to see someone go first. Just like when I was watching my first marathon, watching someone cross the finish line that maybe had bigger challenges than you, or just someone your same age. You just think, if they can do it, I can do it. So same thing, you just need to be with people that are doing the things. So it's, your 4-minute mile, someone breaking a 4-minute mile for you.
On his lunch break.
Yeah.
That's I don't remember the gentleman's story that broke the 4-minute mile. I don't remember his name.
Oh, it's not in my head.
Yeah, it's not going to come to me right now. But all he did was he tried to run 1 minute quarter miles first, and he did it on his lunch break, and then he just tried to beat himself by a second. And in 2 months or 3 months, he broke the 4-minute mile. And there had been thousands of people that have tried to do that before him. But when he broke it down into those little increments, like he figured something out. He figured out something out. It's a beautiful story. There you go. Yeah.
Roger Bannister. But this is the cool thing. I don't believe he did it himself. He needed runners ahead of him to break the wind. He could run their draft.
Yeah.
If I have the story correct. So you can't go through life by yourself. You need to surround yourself, and you need to surround yourself with the right
people. And I think it's the connections. I mean, I remember we were in Belize. I do remember that. We were in Belize, and Wendy's like, Carissa, your leadership journey is going to stall if you don't. This is the path in the math story that Gary loves. And I do not have a path in the math tattoo. Someone asked me that. I'm like, no, I don't have the path is in the math tattoo. I do not have that. So just here's the public forum to answer any questions or rumors that might be out there. I do not have a tattoo that says the path is in the math.
There you go.
Well, why not?
I know. Well, I'm thinking about it now that because I think Jason or someone said, like, well, Gary said you had a tattoo. I'm like, he did not say that. So who actually knows?
That's so funny how those stories get started.
I learned
Gary starts all those stories.
He does. But that's where I learned the path is in the math, is when, Whitney said your leadership journey will stall. What you need now is to really understand financials at a deeper level. And I was like, oh yeah, but that's not my thing. But she was so compelling, and it did make you a little bit feel like, God, I suck. But I'm like, she's probably right. And I worked on it. And I mean, this was blood, sweat, and tears. And it was the year that my sister, who had been our financial person, so the goal was set before she passed away. And so then as we went through, I easily could have given up and said, look, everything is falling apart. We've lost, the leader of our Austin team. She's my sister. Like, I could have, but I just kind of held on to it. And it was like one of the things that pulled me through. But I mean, numerous girls, guys in the Gary's group can tell you, like, I called them. I'm like, I still don't understand this. Can you explain it to me again? And finally, Tiffany Fight said, okay, I'm going to explain it to you. She's like, you're trying to not work with the rules, the laws of accounting. You're trying to change the laws of accounting. And I'm like, because they don't make sense. And so finally, when I just gave up trying to change the standard laws of accounting, then it seemed to make a little bit more sense, and I learned how to do it. But that was a huge and powerful moment for me as a leader to really understand that, I mean, something that I've sworn to hate, which is math, was the thing that unlocked everything in our business.
We've been told for so long that know your numbers. You're never going to get to where you want to go unless you know where you're at. And so know your numbers. And not loving math, that's a story that would be a hard one to get over. Yeah.
But I wouldn't have gotten there because I knew my numbers, but I didn't know my numbers. So I'm talking about a different level. I lived behind the, whatever. I know my numbers because I did, but I didn't know my numbers. And I think that's something I would not have made it there if not because they gave me they said I need to do this. It's like, okay, crap, I'll do it. But they were the ones that kept us going. And I think that's so much what it is about. They may be the ones that give you the courage to start. They may be the ones that help you through when you're ready to quit. And
the people that are betting on you, right? Like it was Chris Stewart that said this 2 days ago. He said that, he's always just been so fiercely independent and he's always been really good at betting on himself. And that's something that I think as female leaders, we're not great at. So or it's not installed in us.
I want to bring up a couple of points. First of all, I love that quote, Carissa. Know your numbers.
No.
Before I love it.
Know my numbers.
I want to remind people is that math is a skill. Wealth building is a skill, and all skills are learned. Nobody is born knowing any of this. And if you don't spend time focusing on it and learning from people that do know it, you will never know it. So, and it takes time. All skills are learned. And we're going to take this full circle back to pole dancing. Wealth building is self-care. And like Ramona says, you can't dance forever.
Wealth building is self-care. That's a good one.
Ramona is J-Lo in Hustlers. She says you can't.
Oh, that's a good movie. Margaux, I just want to say that I was a team leader of a market center a year and a half ago, and Jesse is still a team leader. And the conversation we have all the time with our agents and agents at other brokerages who want to produce more, right? And I had people who would meet with me and say, "Oh, my goal is to do 25 million this year." Well, how much is what's the number one agent in your current brokerage producing right now? Oh, they're only doing they're doing 15. Okay, so they're doing 15 million. Well, how are you going to break through to 25 million if you're not around people who are doing that? If you're not around people doing what you want to accomplish, it's going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get there.
To raise the bar. Yep.
Yes, and we're very thankful as team leaders for leaders like Carissa. You guys are our validity in that. That's a powerful story that we get to tell when we're giving the gift of KW to somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's
you guys are
real
quick. One of my favorite stories is when Jeff Cohn, he was the number one agent at Berkshire Hathaway in units, 600 units, and he needed to break through and figured he wasn't going to be able to do that if he was number one. And so he came to KW, right? And now he's not even in the top 100, but that's okay because he's going to get there.
Yeah, that's the story. Now he can. Now he can.
Well, I want to make sure that we get in one of the things we're like, how can we come from contribution? So one of the things we did want to tell you guys about, and I'm going to actually have Margaux do it, is something that we've got coming up next week. So it's really exciting.
Yes, please.
Yes, we have our Amplify virtual event for June coming up next week.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is Meal Prep 101.
What's the website for that? I'm going to post it here.
amplifyvirtualevent.com.
Oh, that would make sense.
See what we did there?
Yes, yeah, that's very good. That's a very good title.
So just like I said, wealth building is self-care, meal prep is self-care. I can't tell you when you take the time to, like, first of all, right now, tell me, you don't have to answer, I guess, if you don't want to.
I'll answer. I love questions.
Do you guys have meal prep time blocked on your calendar?
Nope.
Yes.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Okay.
No.
So, do you eat?
Do I eat? Yeah, I eat.
And does your family eat?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So think about having a system, because systems make us more efficient. Systems give us reliable results. So think about having a system around eating and having food. We talked about mental health. I can't tell you what it has done for my mental health, just having a system around this. So Amplify virtual event, meal prep 101. Next week, my family and I, during quarantine, got together to inspire and uplift other families. And so we started consistently meal prepping. So the official name is Meal Prep 101, create healthy meals, rock your week, and win at home. I always talk about your family being your home team. We're always talking about leading at work and leading our teams at work. You have to lead yourself first and lead your home team. You're only as happy as your least happiest child. So
that's a scary one. Write that one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, seriously.
It's easy to breeze over and think, oh, that's not about numbers. That's not about wealth building. Well, yes, it is, because it's completely connected to your financial picture. So take the time and join us next week. So we're the D fam. We've been meal prepping consistently since last November. We each have a financial goal that we are working toward. And meal prep is part of that, because the two things go hand in hand. Think about your food expense and think about how that affects your wealth picture.
I love it. I think that's, first of all, I think that's a great event to do. And it's one of those things like, a lot of people be like, oh, that's silly. Why would I go to that? But you know what though? Because I used to be, I had my own, when I was in my 20s, I majored in exercise physiology at college. And so I was a personal trainer, and I had my own personal training company in my 20s, mid to late 20s. And I used to be able to meal prep. I used to meal prep. I'm still able to. Let me rephrase that.
You're able to
be able to. I used to meal prep. You'd be very surprised how difficult that is. It's very hard to do.
You need
right?
a system.
And so I think this would be a great event. It's
I
very
love it.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So our kids do it with us. And even if your kids are younger, they're going to talk about all the things that they used to do when they were younger to help.
It's a great memory.
It's important for them to feel like part of the process, and it's leverage for you. You're teaching at the same time.
I love that. Kid leverage.
Yes, kid leverage. That would be my right name if I had one.
You live here, you work here. I'm like, hey, we have to work, and you live here, we work here. So yes, child leverage.
Yeah.
Y'all, AmplifyVirtualEvent.com and AmplifyEvent.com is the other website, correct? Carissa Acker. Margaux, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to Seychelle before, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you so much for being here. Everyone go to AmplifyEvent.com and AmplifyVirtualEvent.com.
Yes.
And you can find Margaux and Carissa. Margaux, I want to show everyone how you spell your name. It's Margaux, Margaux.
Correct. And I want to point out that the Amplify virtual event is complimentary. It is a free event. Anyone, anywhere can join, but registration is required.
I'll check it out.
Registration is required. Got it.
Everyone have a fantastic weekend.
Thanks, gentlemen. We'll see y'all. Bye.